and this week we are going to be doing the first of my Ask a Witch series. It looks like I'm going to have probably three-ish as it's looking right now, but today we're going to do a few questions and then say, let me just get myself up and running on the second tab on Facebook here, because Facebook has this lovely feature where sometimes it doesn't want to show me all of your comments. I'm going to be doing the first. All right, so as you can see by my background, I am outside today, which is really nice. Much prettier background than usual, which is just the blank flat wall of my bedroom. And I am in Maine. Hey, Ivy, Renee, and Faye Holm on Instagram. We're going to be chatting, doing a Ask a Witch, talking about, I call it knowing your rights. Frequently asked questions that witches often get and how you can respond to them. And right now we're just kind of chilling, waiting for folks to show up because I just went live. But I would love to hear about what you're doing for the 4th of July, or if you're in Canada, Canada Day celebrations. Let me know in the comments below. If you're here watching, if you could give me a hashtag live in the comments or hashtag replay so the rest of the internet can find us easier. Hey, Kristen. We are just here chatting about, while we wait for more folks to show up, what your weekend plans are. If you could give me a hashtag live in the comments for anybody who is joining, such as Scorpion with Libra scales. Sorry, my brain took a second to get all those words out right. Hashtag live anyway, just so other people can find us more easily. Going to be chatting about some frequently asked questions that you get as witches and some easy ways that you can respond to them. But for now, I would love to know, while we're waiting, what you guys are doing this weekend for fun, because it is Independence Day in the U.S. And I am, as you can see, like I said, I'm in Maine. My family owns a cottage here on a lake, and so that is why we have the benefit of this lovely backdrop behind us right now. Earlier today, I spent the day. Faye Holmes says she's working. I'm sorry. Upside is you get to watch this at work, so that's a bonus at least. I definitely can't watch lives when I'm doing my day job, so that's nice. I think there's gonna be fireworks at some point. I didn't make it there today, but I imagine tomorrow we'll go to the actual lake, the beach, and go swimming with the kids. Because if you're not already familiar with me or my feed or any of my info, I have 4 children, and they love the beach. I'm not on the back deck right now of the cottage, and I'm not sure that any of them realize I'm here right now, thankfully. But if they do, no doubt they will come to harass us. I'm going to give it about 3 more minutes. I like to give it about 5 before I kind of jump in too deep. But again, let me guys know what your weekends are going to look like. I've been doing, like I said, lots of crafting projects. I haven't posted anywhere yet, so this is kind of on the DL, you guys. I am working on right now these little sachets that you can put in the filter pockets of your masks that have kind of like herbs and smell good things in them that are designed for, aromatherapy and magical protection. Especially for kids as they're going back to school in the fall. So, hey, Freedom, we're going to be talking about knowing your rights of doing an Ask a Witch episode today about how you can answer questions when people ask you about being a witch and what that means. Give it another 2 minutes and then I'll jump in. But if you want to let me know in the comments what you're doing for the weekend, that'd be awesome. Scorpion with Libra Scale says they're staying home or relaxing, maybe pull some cards. That sounds like fun. We usually bring our cards up here to Maine. I think we totally didn't do that. Coming up here this year was kind of like a crapshoot. We didn't know if it was going to happen or not, but thankfully the state of Maine kind of let up on some of their restrictions. At first we were like, is the beach even going to be open? Are there going to be things for the kids to do? Because being cooped up in the cottage with the kids and nothing else to spend time doing would have been pretty much torture. But thankfully that changed. So we made the trip all the way up here, and this is in a good time, about a 4-hour drive. Hey, Likely Tale Witch, we're going to be chatting about some frequently asked questions that you get as a witch and ways that you can answer them in a way that is kind of palatable and easy to understand for anybody who's asking and listening. I'm going to give this another minute and then I'm going to jump in. I usually like to give it about 5 because it takes time for the algorithms to kind of reach their little fingers out and pull people in. If you're new, if you could give me a hashtag live, that would be really great. It helps people find us. Hey, I'll be doing an Ask a Witch today. And yeah, I think I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I'm working on that, and then so I'm working on the sachets. And the other thing I want to work on is some little pouches, and I have some drawings lined up and like ideas in my brain that I want to work on. So we'll see what I find time for. We got in really, really, really late last night, and we're going to be leaving probably around dinner time on Sunday. So I'll have all day tomorrow and most of the day Sunday to kind of chill and relax, because being up here is sort of like my happy relaxation space. Hey, David Armburst. This is perfect. I am 5 minutes in, so I guess we'll just get started. Real quick, if you want to type, because other people were talking about it, if you want to let us know in the comments below what are you doing for the holiday weekend, we'd love to hear about it. If you could throw a hashtag live in the comments, that'd be great too, because it helps the algorithm pull other people in so they can find us. So, if you guys don't already follow me anywhere else on the internet, on YouTube, not YouTube, but on my website, or if you're not on my email list yet, which by the way you can get to by going to bit.ly/EEA VIP seeker list. You get email articles and all sorts of fun things there. But the theme for this week has been Independence Day and knowing your rights and the history of witchcraft in America. And so this week for the live stream, I thought I would talk about the idea of what I'm calling knowing your rights, which is really just a sort of themed segue into talking about how you can approach people when they ask you questions about what you believe. And I'm trying really hard not to say stupid questions, because I recognize that when you're a witch and you've been doing it for a while, hey, Lesson of Flair Chance talking about how you can answer questions that people give you or ask you about being a witch in a way that is kind of easy to understand. I lost it again because I totally interrupted myself. But, weekly theme, Independence Day. So anyway, today we're kind of taking kind of a riff on that and talking about knowing your rights in the form of being able to express your beliefs to other people in a way that they can understand easily. Hey, Vivica, thanks for the hashtag live. So, you know, me personally, as you can see by my shirt today, I am one of those people that I tend to live my witchiness kind of out loud and proud, and I'm super out of the broom closet, like super out of the broom closet. Everybody knows it's not a secret, but I recognize that there's a lot of people for whom that is not a possibility for them. So, you know, this is a video that's geared toward the people that are trying to figure out, what do you do when you can't or you don't want to hide from anybody anymore? And how can you explain what you believe in terms that people will understand? Because there's a lot of misconceptions out there and a lot of myths, and I say myths not in the good way, but myth in the way of, you know, falsities that are out there. And I think that it's helpful to know ways that you can explain yourself that people aren't going to immediately scoff at. So that said, I have 4 frequently asked questions for our Ask a Witch episode today that we are going to be chatting about. So question number 1, you're a witch? What does that mean? And I have to give my sister-in-law credit for this one, because she was the one that kind of gave me the idea for this. This is an especially big question, I think you'll find, if you have friends or family or people that you know and trust, and you're kind of like coming out of the broom closet to them. And, you know, they know you already. They know you're not, like, you know, crazy or evil or eating babies. But they might not know what it does mean, you know, because obviously they want to assume the best, you know. So if you're trying to sort of explain, what does it mean to be a witch? Hey, Kitty Crafts, we're talking about ways that you can answer questions that people ask you about being a witch, and quote unquote knowing your rights, kind of a riff on the whole Independence Day, 4th of July weekend. You know, so the question is, you're a witch. What does that mean? Well, it's always good to obviously kind of focus in on the whole, like, nature-based spirituality religion thing, because once people start hearing about nature, they think tree huggers, and, you know, that immediately makes you much less threatening, of course. So tell them that you celebrate the turning of the seasons. You know, obviously, if you're a witch or if you've been practicing at all or doing any reading at all, you know that our holidays are entirely based around the calendar year and what we call the wheel of the year, especially the solstices and the equinoxes, and then those cross-quarter points in between. And that's all based around what's happening in the agricultural world, when the harvest happens, when things are planted, when things are growing. You know, so talking about it in terms of nature is a really nice way to make it less scary for someone who may not know anything about it. Also, you can mention that we focus on balance. In a lot of the larger, more commonly known world religions, they have a single male god. And obviously, in paganism and witchcraft, generally speaking, that is not the case. We tend to have a real focus on balance, having the divine masculine and the divine feminine both. So everybody usually works with at least one god and one goddess. Some people have patron deities, some people don't, but I don't want to get into too much detail because if you're describing this to someone else, you're not going to go on too many tangents because you might blow their minds a little bit. So keeping it simple, working with balance. And then, of course, there are other things that you might want to mention that are sort of common general tenets that people tend to believe, but not everyone does. Obviously, it's important to mention that witchcraft and paganism is sort of like one of those choose your own ending books. And I know I'm dating myself because those aren't really very popular anymore. If you owned one when you were young, let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear about it because I never see them anywhere anymore. Um, one of those choose your own ending books. So you kind of get to pick and choose the things that feel right to you, and you get to leave the rest. It's a nice way to do the things that resonate with you and leave behind everything else. But the things that a lot of people do tend to kind of latch onto are concepts like karma, the idea of what you do comes back to you in varying degrees depending on your personal belief, or that you believe in reincarnation, the idea that when we die, our spirit generally comes back again into a different body and that we've lived multiple lifetimes before, probably. And again, we could go a lot more into detail on that, but keeping it simple. And then another really big thing that's a big part of witchcraft that's probably worth mentioning, and we'll talk about this more in future Ask Witch episodes, is the belief in the supernatural. And I say super in quotations because the operative part of this kind of tenet as a general belief is that to people who are witches or pagans or Wiccans or whatever, they tend to not look at those things as super or outside of the normal or outside of what is natural. So to them, things like magic, spells, psychic ability, even things like fairies or elves or um, giants or anything like that, like those types of beings, or ancestors or ghosts or maybe even aliens, some of us, to us, those things are just a part of our everyday reality. They're not outside of, they're not extra. They just are natural because they're of the natural world as far as we believe it. Just like, Christians believe in angels. What's the difference? So anyway, it's really a good skill to start thinking about it in those sorts of parallels and how can I compare what I believe in with what a Christian believes in, because the statistics right now are that something like 70 I was just talking with my oldest kiddo about this like the other night, that something like 78% of Americans, at least, I can't speak for people in other countries, but 78% of Americans actually are Christian. Only like a third of, like 34% of those, I think, actually go to church every week. But that's neither here nor there. But the vast majority of people that you're going to be talking to either are Christian, or have family that are Christian, or know people that are Christian, and know that to them is sort of their major point of comparison when you're talking about religion. So if you can kind of find a way to line those things up for them, it makes it easier for them to figure out. So that's the question number one. Question number two. Are you sure you don't look like a witch? This is kind of funny because people have this weird idea of witches from popular media, that we all wear black, that we all like to dress like goth chicks and wear combat boots and wear giant upside down crosses and have black hair and wear winged eyeliner. Now, that said, there are lots of those out there, and there's definitely such a thing as hashtag witchy aesthetic. That's a big thing, black and silver and giant tentacles, and it's a thing. But, just like any demographic or group of people, we are all different. We all have different styles, and we all have different ways that we choose to express and present ourselves to the world. I definitely obviously like to wear pentacles, and I kind of have crazy hair, but I'm not necessarily the standard image that people usually associate with being a witch. And that said, there are lots of people that are witches that don't look anything unusual at all. Some of them are corporate America, wear suits to work and have blonde hair and don't wear any sort of religious symbols at all. Primarily because they're afraid to be discriminated against. But all of that to say that just like any group of people, we all choose to show ourselves in a different way. And just because someone isn't advertising that they're a witch or pagan with their appearance doesn't mean that they aren't. And going back to our statistics, 0.4% of Americans identify as pagan, Wiccan, or witches at this point in time, which is actually a really small number. But the point is that we are definitely out there. And right now, I don't know how recent that data is. I think it's probably a few years old now. But if you've been paying attention, Wicca, witchcraft, paganism, as a trend are absolutely on the rise. People are talking about us, people are thinking about us, people are learning about us, and there are more of us than ever, which is a wonderful thing. We've come so far from where we, were just, a couple decades ago, or even just a couple years ago, as far as acceptance is concerned. But we're everywhere, everywhere. um, so that is question number 2. Question number 3. Do you believe in God? Well, if you've been listening since the beginning, I did mention earlier that, we tend to believe in balance of having a God and a goddess, but of course that's not all there is to it. That said, there are some witches that don't believe. So we'll get a little specific here. You may or may not get this specific when you're talking to people, but I think it's important to mention that there's 2 different types of witchcraft. There's spiritual witchcraft, people for whom witchcraft is actually a spiritual practice, and there are people for whom witchcraft is just a magical practice that has no attachment to spirituality in any way whatsoever. And that's an important distinction to make, because some people, when you start talking about one or the other, go, well, that's not my version of witchcraft. And that's okay if it's not. So when you're talking to people, you're going to have to kind of gauge how complex of an answer they're looking for as to whether or not that's a point that you want to make. But, atheopaganism is totally a thing. Atheist witches, totally a thing, but I wouldn't say they're the majority. Most witches do believe in some form of God. Not all of us use the word God, because the name God is what's been widely attributed to the Christian God, which many of us have been trying kind of most of our spiritual lives to migrate away from. But a lot of us, again, not all, believe in a type of universalism, which says that all gods are one. And all gods, all the ones from various mythologies and pantheons that we've learned about over the years, are different faces or different facets of a singular, larger being, overarching being, I should say, that we are simply trying to put a face to that makes deity understandable. We're making an attempt to know something that is inherently unknowable, because we are very limited beings in our perceptions and understanding, because we're spiritual beings living in a physical body. That said, there are plenty of people, especially those that practice different forms of Norse paganism, that very much are very convinced and sure of the fact that there are actually multiple gods. They are polytheists, that if you tell them that all gods are one, they'll laugh at you a little bit, because they're like, no, that's not what I think. So everybody's different. But again, I'm sort of generalizing a little bit, and you'll have to decide when you're talking to people what the right way to answer is. So I'm kind of just throwing a bunch of ideas out there, and you get to decide what sticks. So that was question number 3. Question number 4, and this is going to be the last one that we do today, is one of the most common questions that I think people tend to get asked. So it's really important. That's part of why I saved it for last. And that question is, do you worship the devil? Because popular media and over time and over history, even over the course of American witchcraft, which again is in my blog that I wrote this week, there's been this image of witchcraft that's been portrayed of us as making pacts with the devil and our magic coming from Satan, and it's inherently evil just because that's where it comes from, when of course in truth that's not in any way the case. So first of all, do you worship the devil, or do we worship the devil? No. Number 1, we don't believe in the devil. The devil isn't even a concept that we have within our faith. A lot of witches view Satan as sort of a scapegoat that people use in order to justify when they do things wrong. And witches are very much about, personal responsibility and taking responsibility for the things that we do, and saying, well, this didn't happen outside of me. This is something that's inherently in me that is not right, and something I need to fix. Which is, in my opinion, a very positive thing, because it puts the focus on self-transformation within the self, instead of relying on an outside source to do it for us. Again, neither here nor there. Kind of went off a little tangent there. But the other thing about Satan is that Satan is actually hardly even canon. When you look at the Bible, Satan is never actually mentioned by name. Even I believe the name Lucifer is really not even connected to Satan in the Bible. That's something that is sort of been attributed to him over time by scholars and people who are kind of just making educated guesses. And it's really just and some of the lore that's been associated with Satan over the years comes from literature, like Dante's Inferno. Um, and the images that we associate with devil actually come from symbolism of pagan gods that the church took and kind of bastardized to scare people away from the pagan religions that in an attempt to convert people. Even demons specifically, which I don't specifically have on here, but demons specifically are actually, if you read on them, are minor pagan gods that the church took and literally demonized. And once you start doing your research on demons, they're actually a lot less scary than they're made out to sound just off the bat. So that said, does Satan even really exist even within the Christian religion? Hard to say, because the people believe in him, but it comes from not a biblical source. And if you're talking about the Bible as the source of where things come from, then hard to say. Hey, Miss Chacha Bizarre, we are talking about, we're having an Ask a Witch episode talking about frequently asked questions you get as a witch. And this is part of Do You Worship the Devil? Because I think we all get that question a lot. But short version is that Satan, the devil, whatever we want to call it, was invented to scare people into submission, into conversion, because if people converted, it gave more power to the church, and by extension, give more power to the people, and it was actually very political. So Satan, in my opinion, and obviously it's very biased, and most of you will probably agree that Satan doesn't have a great place in my, or any place at all in my practice, and very little place in my esteem, other than a historical myth that was created out of fear and political um, desire. So, yeah. So, tell me if you guys have any questions that you've been asked as witches or pagans that maybe I didn't mention today. Let me know what they are in the comments below. I would love to hear. I might, use them in future episodes. If I haven't already gotten them on my list, I would love to hear about it. I'm really lucky. I have not, had to deal with too much crap. I've been really lucky that the people that I've sort of surrounded myself with in my life, don't tend to ask annoying questions, or are they themselves witches, so it doesn't even really matter. I have a witchling over here that's possibly breaking onto the deck, but thank goodness we're almost done, so hopefully she won't make it in. I'm trying to think of, what questions people have asked me. Oh, I know. When I used to work at Walgreens forever ago, or like 15 years ago, I used to wear my pentacle to work. And this gentleman used to come in. He was a regular, and he would be like, "Oh, that's the Star of David. Yeah, I know Jewish people." And I was like, not Jewish, and also not a Star of David. Star of David has 6 points. This one has 5. I'm pagan." And that kind of blew his mind a little bit. So, all right. Well, I don't see any comments yet. I'll give it a couple more seconds, and I'm going to sign off because I am supposed to be on vacation, spending time with my kids. Next week, I'm going to be doing the Miss Chacha Bazaar says, "Oh geez," with a laughing face. Next week, I'm going to be starting the first episode of my Color Magic series. The theme for the week is actually Nudity Day, which is July 14th, if you're not familiar. And so we're going to be focusing on ritual garb and the symbolism of skyclad. So if you haven't already subscribed to my email list, you'll get all of that stuff there. Again, it's bit.ly/EEAVIP seeker list. Go and check it out because that's where all the good stuff is. Special offers and email articles and notifications of my lives and subjects that I'll be doing. So next week is, like I said, color magic. I'm going to be doing black because I feel like that's pretty much the most common, like, ritual garb, clothing color people, witches tend to wear and gravitate towards, especially for ritual. So we'll be talking about why. So yeah, so it looks like everybody is all set for Ask a Witch this week. I hope I see you guys next week, and or you check out my email list because I would love to see you guys there. Hope you guys all have a wonderful holiday weekend and have a happy 4th of July. Miss Chacha Bazaar says, thanks for sharing. Hopped on late, but appreciate all this good stuff you were sharing. Miss Chacha Bazaar, if you want to go back after I end this video, you'll be able to watch it from the beginning in my stories, or maybe it'll even be on my feed. I'm not sure. Sometimes it goes to one, sometimes it goes to the other. But if you head to my profile a couple minutes from now, you can watch it from the beginning. So that way you can catch all the good things. And I'm not sure when, but at some point I'll hop in. Occasionally I'll be doing some more Ask a Witch stuff too. So check it out, join the email list, and I hope I see you there. All right. Take care, you guys.